Hello everybody. Ground continues to subside, which suggests that an eruption is still likely. The subsidence continues to cause a lot of damage, with some parts of the town looking unreal. This evening, the electricity in the eastern part of Grindavík was lost, leaving that site in the dark. This is most likely due to the subsidence, which goes to show just how drastic it is. Yesterday, on November 14th, gas was detected in the vicinity of Grindavík, but at the time, there were people in the town retrieving valuables. Following these detections, it was decided to immediately evacuate the area, but there were around 90 people there at the time. It took only 95 seconds to clear the whole town, which is mind-blowing, but shows that if an eruption would suddenly happen when there are people in the town, everyone would get out in time. That's nice. But this gas detection, sulfur dioxide to be exact, can only be caused by the magma if it's at really shallow depths. But experts are currently making sure these gases aren't coming from somewhere else, like the old lava fields to the east. The construction of protective barriers has begun around the geothermal plant and the Blue Lagoon to be safe, as losing the plant would be devastating. But how shallow is the magma? Are the odds of an eruption diminishing? Well, let's check out the details. Beginning with the gas detection. Our experts set up new measuring equipment a few days ago, called DOAS, or Differential Optical Absorption Spectrometer. That's a mouthful. Anyways, to put it simply, these equipment detect changes in light due to gas, and on November 14th, it detected the volcanic gas sulfur dioxide. The most likely cause is that magma is at such shallow depths that gas has started to seep through the ground, but the depths at which this starts to happen vary depending on the magma's composition. Fortunately, our experts have a solid idea of the magma's composition, with it being slightly more developed than in previous intrusions from Fagradalsfjall. In these previous intrusions, detection of gas would have meant magma was at around 200 meters below the surface. Now, it's thought it means magma is around 400 meters below the surface. So magma is still advancing upwards in the north area of Grindavík. These aren't the only measurements being conducted in the area. GPS equipment is still hard at work monitoring the ground deformation in the area, and it shows that subsidence is still ongoing and seems to be subsiding up to a centimeter per day. Just to give you an idea how much ground has sunk in the past few days, there's a small pond by the coast south of Grindavík. It has doubled in size due to the subsidence as ground sinks below the water table. Despite that an eruption hasn't occurred, the damage done already is drastic and will be a challenge to fix when people get to return back home to Grindavík. You may remember that, not even a week ago, the place being threatened by the eruption was different. Back then, the geothermal plant Svartsengi and the tourist attraction, the Blue Lagoon, were the ones in the spotlight. As the geothermal plant provides over 30,000 people on the Reykjanes Peninsula with electricity and hot water, it is one important piece of infrastructure. That's why protective walls or barriers were proposed and later accepted by the government to be built around the area. The construction of the walls has begun, despite that the magma has switched locations and isn't likely to be a threat to the geothermal plant. This is done just in case, as it'll take up to 30 days to construct these walls that will wrap this area marked on screen. They won't be a fixed height, will probably start around 5 to 8 meters, and if needed, it will be possible to raise them during the eruption. Protective walls have also been designed for Grindavík, but construction has not started. With this data, we can get a small hint of the situation we are in. The odds of an eruption are still high, but may be a bit lower compared to a few days ago, as it seems as either magma is having a really hard time breaking through the surface, or that it's just moving really slow due to the slow influx. Speaking of influx, which is the rate at which magma is flowing into the dike, it seems to be around 75 cubic meters per second, which is definitely a lot, but for a dike this size, it decreases its pressure and thus slows it down. But as long as there's still some influx of magma into the dike, an eruption is possible. There are also signs that magma is beginning to solidify around the edges of the dike. That doesn't really mean much, just that the power of the intrusion has decreased compared to previously. And if an eruption occurs now, it's going to be pretty calm, like the ones witnessed in the Fagradalsfjall system. Those are definitely good news. The most likely eruption site is still the area northwest of Grindavík. So, as magma seems to be just 400 meters below the surface, we could be in the final stretches. These depths make it pretty much impossible to detect the magma's movement, so we're just waiting. But if magma has just moved 400 meters in the last 4 days, we might have to wait another 4 for it to reach the surface. This sucks as the situation is so uncertain and definitely stressful for the residents of Grindavík. So, until we get more data, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I just want to thank everyone who made it here. Definitely leave any speculations and questions in the comments. It's always fun to read them. Other than that, I just hope you enjoyed, hope to see most of you in the next video, and thanks for watching.